Come with me as I clean my classroom this week and share some exciting news. So, I found out last week that I am one of the semi-finalists in our county's Teacher of the Year competition. This means that out of 200 schools, I was one of 20 teachers that were chosen for Teacher of the Year. And that means I move on in our competition and I get to compete at a higher level. This also means that people will be visiting my classroom and judging my teaching. And that makes me a little bit nervous as well as excited for this opportunity. I'm one of the only visual art teachers in this competition, and that means that I'm a little bit concerned that these people are going to be seeing my disorganized classroom. So I decided to tackle a number of places in my room that just started being dumping grounds and places where piles started to pile up. Places like my paper cutter and the demonstration table at the front of my room were just becoming too cluttered. And the motto that I used throughout my week was, don't put it down, put it away. If there was a spot that I knew these things were supposed to live, I wanted to put them back where they were supposed to be, as well as just tidying and clearing up extra clutter around my room. And since this was in the front of the classroom, I feel like streamlining everything and getting that visual clutter out of the way will help students to focus a little bit more when their attention is at the front of the room and just make things look a little bit cleaner. We are so fortunate to also have 4 working potter's wheels at our school, and I think it's awesome that I get to teach wheel throwing to 8th graders. It's so rewarding, but this area does get dirty really quickly, so I wanted to make sure I wiped down each one of the wheels really thoroughly, as well as the walls behind it, because clay can splash up onto the walls and build up pretty quick when you're working with clay. So I wiped down each wheel, swept underneath of them, vacuumed, and then wiped down each foot pedal as well to make sure everything was squeaky clean. And then comes the area of this back counter. This is probably the space and the spot that gets used the most by all of my classes. It's where we put out all of our supplies, all of our handouts, all of the materials that the students will need normally is going to be on this counter. So I made sure to wipe everything really well with a Clorox wipe because sickness is going around our school, as well as just organizing and straightening things up to look nicer. Then I got to work on some of the stains and paint splatters that have been sitting on the counter asking to be cleaned off for the past couple of weeks. I would like to clean off this counter more often so that it looks a little bit more organized throughout the week. Unfortunately, the sink area is one of those dumping grounds for everybody. It's centrally located in the class, so a lot of things just get left here. All of that extra cleaning supplies I ended up putting away because I'm the only person that's going to be using them. And then I got to work on just making sure that everything was clean inside the sink, as well as the drying rack that gets set behind the sink. And then if you can think of any prettier way to store old clay water instead of this giant blue bucket behind the sink, I would be happy to hear your options. We don't want the clay water to go down the sink, so I keep it in this bucket until the end of the day and dump it into the bushes outside. Once everything was cleaned and wiped down, I feel like the sink area was a lot more organized and just a little bit visually nicer to see. I hated the fact that my bookshelf was being so underused in my classroom. I've been collecting different art books and resources for students over the years, but also I had inherited so many unused handouts, folders, and things that were just collecting dust on this shelf. So I spent a full planning period going through, wiping down, and reorganizing my bookshelf, as well as labeling it so that students can better see where things are located on the bookshelf. And I think and I hope students are going to be able to use these resources to help them with their projects. The last space I wanted to tackle was this back sink area. It's not as dirty as the front sink because it's a little bit farther away from everything. But again, that visual clutter, the extra stuff just hanging around, I wanted to put it back where it needed to be, or just in a better space if we weren't going to be using it on a daily basis. So things like extra buckets, aprons, anything that wasn't going to be used, I wanted to put away. Hopefully these areas serve me and my students better, and they look a little bit nicer for my Teacher of the Year observation coming up soon.